Testing, testing.
During the pandemic, plus former President Barack Obama calling out Republicans in Congress for doing the work of the Russians. We'll explain all those stories coming up.
Testing.
Our homes. Overnight, it became our offices, schools, and playgrounds. All those places out there are now in here. That's why we're still offering fast, free 2-day shipping on thousands of items, even the big stuff, and doing everything it takes to ensure your safety. So you make your home everything you need it to be. Wayfair, way more than furniture. While you do your part to be coronavirus, America's biopharmaceutical companies are working around the clock.
Take that cord like I did before.
Yeah, yeah.
Do it. Ready? I'm gonna plug it.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know why it's doing this. Why is it doing a funny thing like this? Never seen it do this before without having the whole screen up there.
What I usually do is I put the join and then
Yeah,
I
I
just
did
type
that.
in the.
I know, I already joined. Here's the ID number right there.
Okay. They probably haven't, usually
Yeah,
say.
but I mean, you know how it's usually the big whole screen? It's not, it won't do it on the whole screen.
But usually until it starts, then the whole screen
There.
comes out. Why don't you put one just smiling? Why you put that in there?
I like that picture.
No, Hi, everybody. My name is Mare. I'm the director of Land of Medicine Buddha, those of you that don't know me. I think Venerable Robina should be here in just a few minutes. I just had a couple of things. I just wanted to welcome you. Thanks for joining online. It's great to see all of you. Also, just to remind you to keep your audio off for this session unless you're asking questions or something, just because it gives a little bit of a weird feedback loop. Also, I wanted to introduce you to Roland. Roland, can you say hi so people can see who you are?
Hi, everyone. I'm the one with the spiritual program coordinator label under my name.
There he is. So this is Roland, and he's going to be available in the chat feature if you have any problems during the talk today. And I guess that's all the news fit to report from here. I'm checking if Venerable Robina is here yet. There we go. Yeah, I don't see Venerable here yet, so we'll just give her a few more minutes. I'm sure she'll be here shortly. And good to see you. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm early. Maybe I'm early. Hello. Good to see you.
Perfect timing.
Huh?
Welcome, Venerable Robina.
Who's that? Where's Maya? I can hear your voice.
I'm sorry, yep, there I go.
Oh, happy to see you.
Nice to see you.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, darling. So what's the plan?
It's you, Venerable Robina. All you.
So I forget what we're supposed to talk about. Forgive me.
Anxiety.
Oh, anxiety. Oh, my God. Okay. We can, who's here? There's Breeze. Hello, Breeze. Lilani's there. Very good. Valerie, Roxy, Jessica, Peggy, Sandy. Okay, wonderful. Okay, time to start then. We're not going to wait any longer for people. Okay. So let's start, as always, with our little kind of set ourselves in the right direction. Oh, there's Jason and Amy in Australia. They're in Melbourne. Good. Okay, so let's just start with a little motivation. And maybe we might say setting our purpose, stating our goal, you know. But so let's just think of what's our purpose. Why are we meeting here together for this 90 minutes, whatever. So we can listen to Buddha's teachings, and that includes me, I guarantee you. So we can, and why do you want to do that? It's very practical. It's not just to fill our heads with interesting information. It's like getting some recipes. You know, if this were cooking class, if I just raved on about how nice cakes were, you'd be kind of fed up. You know, you want recipes. We want advice. So this is advice. Whether we take it's another discussion, but it's advice. Advice for what? Well, it's very simple. How to develop our own incredible potential. And this is the fundamental starting point for the Buddha. So that why? For our own sake, but because we live in this maniac universe with everybody else, because we're all in the same boat, so that we can be of help to others. That's the bottom line. Compassion, the compassion wing. We've got to have the wisdom wing. There's wisdom wing and compassion wing. But as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, compassion wing is not enough. We need wisdom, you know. So we need to put ourselves together so we can be of benefit to others. That's the bottom line. So we're listening for this reason. We're listening for this reason. That's the idea. And if there's 1% of what we listen to that we can use, fantastic. It's great. So we'll sing our little prayer that expresses this idea. Sangye charang choke chognam la jancho badu dagni kyab suchi dagi chanyen gipe sonam ki drola penche sangye dropa shog sangye charang choke chognam la jancho badu dagni kyab suchi dagi chanyen gipe sonam ki drola penche sangye dropa shog Sangye charang soke chognam la jangcho badu dagni kyab suchi dagi chanyen gipe sonam ki drola penche sangye dropa sho. Okay, you know, there's so I suppose the word anxiety. I don't know. Maybe we can all. Are you organising the town, Mayor? Maybe show everybody else.
I'm here.
Wonderful to see you. Happy you're there, darling. So glad you're there. Good for
I
us.
figured it out.
Yes. Well done, Gita. Mayor, are you there?
Yes, yes.
Organise this. Organise. That's it. You got it. Good. Okay. So the word anxiety. We say anxious, worried, panic, fear. I think they're referring to the same thing. So it's very interesting. If you look into Buddhist psychology, if you read any, if you've studied any of Buddhist psychology, you read about the contents of the mind. As we know, Buddha states very clearly all these different states of mind. It's very precise, and this is from 2,500 years ago. And if we read them, we're going to see it's join the human race here. We've all got them. Love, compassion, kindness, generosity, anger, jealousy, depression, arrogance, pride. We know the words intimately. But what's interesting is you won't find a word called fear. As you know, maybe Tibetan psychology, they call these things mental factors. We'd say states of mind. We say states of mind. But you won't find one called fear. And that's really fascinating. But why not? And this is the interesting point, This is the really fascinating point. And this is unique to the Buddhist approach, his analysis of the mind. He would say that anxiety, worry, stress, fear, you name them, we've got half a dozen words, they are the character, they're the nature, they're the flavor of all the unhappy states of mind. So anger, you check jealousy, you check incredible attachment, the fear of losing what you've got, the fear of not getting what you want. Look at anger when the panic attack of getting what you don't want. Look at all of these, look at all of these states of mind that we are intimately familiar with, low self-esteem, all these things, we understand them. If we look into it, we know very well, and this is the way they say in Buddhist psychology, one of the characteristics of these states of mind, it's so obvious, is that they're deeply disturbing. They're very distressing to have them. To have the very presence of anger in my mind means I'm distressed. I'm disturbed. It's really clear they're called disturbing emotions. But because in our culture, we consider them a totally normal part of a normal person. And I mean so normal that we'd think we were weird if we didn't have them. This is how profoundly deep they are inside us and how we take them for granted. And we actually think you'd be weird. You really wouldn't be normal if you didn't have them. So we assert them as normal parts of a normal person, along with hopefully some love, some intelligence, some kindness. That's our saving grace. So Buddha's very distinct analysis is that this first stuff, the disturbing emotions, the stuff that is rooted in fear, and this is the point we're going to get into, this painful, awful feeling. These states of mind, he has found, Buddha himself, this man 2,500 years ago, this amazing genius who came out of this incredibly sophisticated, that was already existing in India, these amazing Hindus before him, as His Holiness the Dalai Lama says, it was these incredible Indians more than 3,000 years ago who were the ones who began the investigation into the nature of self. And where they looked wasn't in the brain. They don't, you ask them about the brain, they wouldn't have a clue. Their expertise is the actual internal, subjective, cognitive process itself. And so Buddha went as far as he could go in that amazing system. They're the ones that created this technique that the world vaguely knows as mindfulness meditation. But in fact, is a really sophisticated psychological skill that's still existent, one of the central techniques in Buddhism, invented by these Indians before the Buddha. This skill enables you to plumb the depths of your own mind and become intimately familiar with your mind, which is exactly what the Buddha did. And he went as far as he could go, and he realized there was still something there that they haven't finished. So he diverged in his own direction, in particular in relation to his own direct experiential findings about the nature of self. That's Buddha's deal, long term. So where he looked and what this all is about the mind. Mind is absolutely central in Buddhism. So the job of being a Buddhist, so okay, his main point, and this is that this stuff that we are familiar with, this fear-based, anxious-based, panic-stricken based, distressing, disturbing states of mind, attachment, anger, etc., that they're horrible. We know that. But his amazing finding is, and this is, like I was saying, not in our psychology, is that this stuff is not at the core of our being. This stuff is not integral to who we are. Thus, it can be removed. And if we look at the word Buddha, it's so amazing. This entire word Buddha, it actually, the etymology of it is very tasty. It indicates exactly this, which tells us the exact methodology of being a Buddhist. That the first syllable, Bud, implies the utter eradication from our mind of all these crazy states of mind. Therefore, the eradication of fear. I mean, we don't have such concepts in our world. It just sounds too strange to say these things, which is why we make it sound like religion. But this is exactly what Buddha's found. Remember, he's not a creator. He didn't make up this stuff. It's not coming from on high. He's not speculating. He didn't have a dream about it. He didn't have a vision of it. He discovered, he identified it in the mind. So this stuff is not at the core of our being and can be gotten rid of. Second, not only that, the other stuff in our mind, which we all know about, our saving grace, love, intelligence, compassion, contentment, joy, you name it. These are at the core of our being and can be developed to perfection. That's the meaning of the word Buddha. So if that's the goal, then obviously the method is implied, isn't it? We better start to learn to distinguish between the neurotic states of mind and the valid states of mind, the virtuous ones. That's the job of being a Buddhist, being your own therapist, as Amiyashi puts it. So this is getting us now to the point. When do we have fear? What is it that triggers fear, anxiety, panic, worry, etc. inside us? What is it? Well, guess what? If we look at Buddha's fundamental analysis, we look into the states of mind in that first lot, the unhappy ones. He narrows, he's actually identified 84,000. I don't know, I think when Ling Rinpoche was there. Was Ling Rinpoche there recently? The young Ling Rinpoche, did he come to LMB? Okay, I've heard a lot of people say it, and I say it. I haven't heard this particular thing before, but he keeps saying it wherever I've heard his teachings, in England, in India, here. He said this. He said, because Buddha has identified 84,000 distinct mental problems. But luckily, thank goodness, he's narrowed them all down to 3. It's a very distinct map, and they've got this intimate relationship with each other. This is not how we talk in our culture, clearly. He's mapped the mind, basically, internally, not the brain. And it narrows all these down to 3, as we know very well. If we read Buddhist psychology, we're going to talk about the 3 poisons. Buddha talks about the 3 poisons. It all sounds so cute and nice, doesn't it? What's he referring to? He's referring to these 3, or the toxic emotions. Let's use a modern phrase, the 3 toxic emotions. So and Ling Rinpoche said, it's so fascinating, that 21,000 of those 84,000 are linked to the first one, ego grasping. The second 21,000 are linked to attachment. The third 21,000 are direct evolution in anger, and the fourth 21,000 in all 3. So it's a really kind of coherent map of the mind. I mean, who would have known, We don't think of Buddhism like that. But the point is this, these 3, and let's look into them, the root one, and this is the root one when you have really given up fear, as Amiyashi says in his most recent book, Mahamudra, that came out last year with Wisdom. It's a beautiful book. It's a meditation of how to, realize the nature of self, the nature of self, emptiness. It says, when you've done that, there is no fear. You have eradicated fear. This is a very weird concept to us. There's nothing equivalent in our culture, but we need to hear it properly so we see what he's saying. Then we can understand where fear comes from, what drives it, you know? So the main one is this ego grasping, this primordial, neurotic, deeply instinctive, impossibly hard to identify, but eventually possible. This known colloquially as ego grasping, this frantic assumption so deep in our bones that believes unbelievably, intensively, instinctively, primordially all the time in a real, solid, separate, definite me. Buddha says it's a complete fabrication. And so the grasping at it is so shocking, so primordial. And most of the time it's like a sleeping lion. So this is the point now. It only rises like the sleeping lion only wakes up. Let's say you're driving in the freeway and suddenly a car nearly hits you. You know perfectly well you have a complete panic attack. Your heart beats fast, you nearly faint, and it's called incredible fear. Well, I think Mr. Darwin identified this and he called it instinct for survival. Sounds like the scientific thing, you know, and it's true. Look at any lion, any dog, any human, any ant who's threatened, and then we of course consider it's necessary, because if someone attacks you, it makes you super alert and it gives you the ability to know what to do. Well, Buddha says, how silly. You need intelligence to know what to do, not fear. Fear just makes a mess of everything. But because naturally all sentient beings have got this is the Buddhist analysis, all beings have got it and we take it for granted. And he says, no, babies, you can get rid of this. So when you've finally done the job of ridding the mind of all these delusions by realizing emptiness, and you've cut the root, you've cut fear. But okay, that's long term. Let's look at short term, okay? So what's the main result in these three? There's like a hierarchical relationship between these three. The main result of this ego grasping, which is the primordial deep one that's just there, the level of assumption, this sense of a neurotic, concrete, bereft, separate me, naturally is this voice of attachment, this emotional hunger. This is the one that drives us throughout the day. And as far as Buddha is concerned, in his Four Noble Truths, if you want a main cause of suffering in daily life, and this, of course, is not our analysis in our culture. This is not what we think is the cause of our fear. It sounds hilarious. Attachment. What do you mean attachment is causing my fear? Is the cause of my suffering? That sounds weird for us. Well, let's analyze it and see why. So attachment, you know, it's multifaceted. We recognize all these words I'm about to say, but they're all characteristics of this one word, this one state of mind, this one neurotic emotion called attachment. Well, the most fundamental level, we're born with all this because of past habit. It's the most primordial feeling of never having enough. It's simply called dissatisfaction. Lama Zopa says it's the main pain of our modern culture, you know, this consequence of attachment. It's just this powerful energy that I do not have enough. I am not enough. No matter what I get, not enough. No matter how much my boyfriend tells me he loves me, not enough. How much food I get, never enough. How much success, never enough. It's the default assumption of not enough. We recognize this and we can see it as such pain in some people, even worse than our own. It's always this primordial ache of never satisfied. Never. It's the most terrible pain. That's the most primordial energy of attachment. So naturally, if you're not satisfied, if you don't feel you've got enough, guess what you do? The next level of attachment is this constant hankering. There's like this junkie desperate to find something, and this is the first level of it. That's the objects of the senses, to find something out there somewhere such that when I get contact with it, it will trigger happy feelings and I'll now become satisfied. This is how we run our lives. Join the universe, Buddha says. This is a simple analysis of how attachment functions. So it's the junkie in us that drives everything. It's there all the time. It even is there polluting our good qualities. Love and compassion and kindness and intelligence is always there until we're hardly realized. Rooted in the ego grasping. So this is the point now in daily life. Look at right now. Why do we have anxiety? Why is there fear? Because guess what? This sounds so brutal, but this is the point. Because our attachment, this junkie in us this is the point, that only wants the nice things. Attachment can only bear the nice things. So attachment is always wanting, and that means it's wanting what I want. So what do I want? We all of us, varying degrees. We want the chocolate cake. We want the job. We want the money in the bank. We want the husband to be there and not leaving us. We want to have health. We want to have a lovely house. We want to have security. We want to have to be things to be certain. That's what attachment wants every second. It's default assumption. So of course, what will be the response when it doesn't get what it wants? Panic. depending on your mind, depending on your personality, depending on how much work you've done. So fear, panic, stress, anxiety are the result of attachment not getting what it wants, which is in turn rooted in ego grasping. That's why. So fear is there, but it pervades all the neurotic states of mind. And this is the thing, if we look at this carefully, I mean, who would ever have thought that because, you're worried about getting COVID-19, and I mean, these are not criticizing us. This is Buddha's analysis of why we suffer, and therefore his methods, how to stop suffering. So look at what happens. We're worried about getting COVID-19. We're worried about our mother dying. We're worried about not getting a job. I mean, look at the worries that the whole world is experiencing, and some infinitely more than us. Some of us are really fortunate right now. And it sounds really a weird analysis to think that we suffer because attachment doesn't get what it wants. It sounds really quite brutal, but this is the Buddha's analysis. Buddha's main deal is the mind. He says we suffer, the main cause of our suffering is in the mind. Equally, the main cause of our happiness is in the mind. We hear these words, we've been practicing Buddhism for 40 years, we hear these words, but to really hear it is shocking. Because why? Because we are addicted to believing when I don't have ill health and I do have money in the bank and there is certainty and my husband is there and the house is there when I get home. That's called certainty. That's called attachment, getting what it wants. We assume that is why I'm happy. But on the face of it, it's not wrong to say that. But we believe the house is why I'm happy. The good health is why I'm happy. The husband is why I'm happy. The job is why I'm happy. But Buddha's saying it's more subtle. It's more, you're missing the main point. There are happy feelings. We do have a sense of security and comfort. Our comfort zone is very nice when the food is there, the husband is there, there's the health is there, and everything's going nice. You can walk down Santa Cruz Beach and it's fine to be walking there instead of now being scared to even touch somebody because you might get a disease. It's like we're all lepers now, isn't it? So suddenly, because attachment isn't getting what it wants, it's rising, it's waking up the sleeping lion who's having a panic attack. Oh my God, fear, panic. What if? Because what do you think attachment is? If only this, if only that, maybe this, maybe that, how dare this, oh my God, this. So this is what's happening. Fear is a function. Anxiety is a function of these neurotic states of mind. We would just say, well, that's natural. And that's true, it is natural. But the Buddha's whole point is, just because it's natural doesn't mean you can't change it. But we mean by natural that you can't change. It's status quo, So in a way, we kind of get it to sort of off the hook. It's not my fault. And this is a very fascinating point, because as soon as we hear the Buddha says we're suffering because we've got attachment, and we're suffering because of our anger, not because of COVID-19, not because of the bad economy, we feel kind of insulted. Well, excuse me, mate, are you blaming me? It sounds like that to us. So we've got to be so careful, so nuanced how we hear what he's saying. But because I think we have this really dualistic view of punishment and reward, as soon as we hear any inkling that what's in me might be the cause of the problem, we have a panic attack. We have a panic attack right there. So it takes a while to hear it properly, And this is a very interesting point. In our psychological models, we know the key way of presenting why people suffer is because of the body, the chemicals, mummy, daddy, the Catholic nuns at school, or the events. In other words, our entire way of presenting suffering in our culture, psychologically, is in terms of things out there. So that's why when you go to your therapist, you're looking for a needle in a haystack. What happened when that caused you? Why does Robina get anxious so easily when things go wrong? Why does she choose such crummy boyfriends? Why does she get jealous easily? Because our very models, point to the external event, person, thing, the body, the chemical, the genes, the DNA, the brain. They're physical, they're external. That's our analysis. Now, Buddha's not arguing with that. He's not saying it's not true. I mean, you both saw my father beat me up, so therefore you can argue Buddha said that too. Not cool. Your father definitely is beating you up, is one of the causes of your suffering. Your mother being loving to you is definitely one of the causes of your happiness. But we give it extra status. This is what Buddha's suggesting. We give it all the status. That is the main cause. There's no, it's more nuanced than that. He says the main cause is in the mind, is the mind. This is hard to hear. This is hard to hear, because it immediately tells us, you mean I'm the one? And then immediately we hear it's called fault. And ego's kind of ironic function is to desperate to get off the hook. So as soon as we hear this analysis, just in my blunt voice, in my Australian rude blunt voice, it sounds so shocking. Like, you mean I'm the blame? It's really hard to hear, you know. But Buddha doesn't talk like that. We put that meaning on. We put the dualistic view of bad, good, punishment, reward onto it. And then we analyze who Buddha is, and this is why it's so important. Just you don't have to like Buddha, but if we do, we have to know how he's talking. He's not a punisher. He's not a rewarder. There is no concept like that in Buddhism, because there is no such thing as a creator. And that's the whole view we do have. If we hear religion and spiritual, we immediately hear, you know, bad thing. You know, like I always quote my Jesuit priest friend when I asked him, by definition, what is a sin? What is a negative action? By definition, he said, it is doing what God said not to do. Now, that's completely reasonable. If there is such a being as a creator who did create the universe, who created the laws of morality, who created me, it is logical and obvious and appropriate that I do his wishes. And if I don't, I'll get punished. And if I do, I'll get rewarded. I mean, that's a simple way of putting it. We can look into a more refined way too, but that's the view we have in the world. That's how we think. So we put that onto Buddha, but it can't be the same. There's no punisher. There's no rewarder. There's no creator. We do it to ourselves, Buddha says. We are the creator of our own happiness and our own suffering. So if our suffering is coming from our misconceptions, these unhappy emotions that he says we can get rid of, they're the source of our pain, and we should want to get rid of them because they're the source of our pain, because we're sick of suffering, then we need to identify them. This is the part that's hard, you know. Then we have the virtuous qualities. Like I said, they're our saving grace. Love and compassion, kindness and generosity and forgiveness. And this is the interesting point. If we look right now, we can see some people who might even have COVID-19, who might be losing their job, who might be, you know, having difficult situation. But we can see some people aren't so unhappy. And it has to be a puzzle to us. If we are convinced that sickness and poverty are the cause of suffering, and then we see sick, poor people who aren't suffering, we ought to question our assumptions. Equally, we can see people who don't have COVID-19, who have $1 million in the bank, who are making even more money now, like Mr. Amazon. Apparently they're bringing in $50,000 a minute, maybe a second. Some people are getting rich because of COVID-19, but you can still see some people who are getting richer by the minute, who are beautiful, have no ill health, have wonderful husbands, 17 children, and they're totally miserable. I mean, we ought to, this is not just a joke, you know. We ought to, I mean, if we think we're trying to be logical in our modern culture, that should blow our minds. That should say, well, that's clearly not logical. It is clear then that sickness can't be the main cause of suffering. It is clear that you know, healthy bodies can't be the main cause of happiness. But we don't. We just go, oh, well, that's like an accident. And we put it on the back burner. We don't use logic. When we think we're so intelligent and so scientific, well, COVID-19 is the cause of suffering. Being poor is the cause of suffering. Doesn't follow. The moment you find one person who is not unhappy being poor, then that whole logic is collapsing as a fact. But we don't like to hear this. And this is just emphasizing Buddha's point, you know. So if this is the point, then you know, so this is like long term. We're not going to get rid of this anxiety overnight, because we're so, you know, we're so habituated with it, because we're habituated with attachment and aversion, join the universe here, what Buddha calls being in samsara. But I think anything, if we really want to get, if we want to understand it, we can be superficial in our understanding and accept that it's true, it's natural to be worried your husband might die, you know. It's natural. Everyone's got that. Like a woman in one of the talks, I nearly call this a show. It's not like Netflix, it's a talk, it's a teaching. One woman, she said, you know, she was really living in fear every day about losing her husband. We understand that. Losing in fear about not having a job, our anxiety about this, anxiety about that, our worry about this, our fear about that, our panic about this. We get it, you know. So we discuss, start again. Given that we've all got attachment, unless you're sitting in here and you've realized in which case you'll be blissful, you're fine. But given we've all got attachment, and that means we all want what I want, which sounds very brutal, but that's its nature. Given that, you know, and that attachment only wants what it wants, and this is the next point now, given in this three little toxic emotions, this intimate relationship between them, if when our attachment gets what it wants, then there's going to be a pleasant feeling, and that's what we call happiness. But if our attachment doesn't get what it wants, which is probably 1,000 times a day, but we never notice until it's really extreme. What's the name of that state of mind? That state of mind is called bare bones state of mind when attachment is thwarted. And that doesn't mean when you get COVID-19 only. That doesn't mean only when your husband leaves you. It means when you drop the cup while you're washing the dishes. It means because Jason doesn't put the toilet seat down after me telling him 7 times. It means the noise is too loud. It means when you get the red light instead of the green light. It means the baby tiniest things happen that attachment doesn't want. Don't wait for the serious things to happen. The state of mind when attachment doesn't get what it wants, the state of mind when attachment is thwarted, all these tiny examples, not to mention the big ones, that's called bare bones aversion. So when the nice thing happens, attachment kind of goes, oh, that's lovely, and you go towards it and you want more of it. When the wrong thing happens, you go, oh, that's no good, and you go away from it. That's called aversion. Now, that's also multifaceted. Attachment's multifaceted. Attachment's dissatisfaction. Then it's emotional hunger to get that thing that we're convinced is missing. Then the manipulating and the controlling to get it and to control and to have it and to possess it. And then the crucial component of attachment, this is the fundamental factor in all these unhappy states of mind that again is unique to the Buddha's understanding, such that when we understand this, we'll really understand what being a Buddhist means. The key function of these neurotic states of mind, of attachment in this case, is it over-exaggerates the deliciousness of whatever we think it is will make me happy. The more there's the emotional hunger, the more there is a manipulating and the controlling to get the Fred, get John, get the cake, whatever, the more you over-exaggerate its deliciousness and the more you grasp at the fantasy, now I've got the happiness. But because Buddha's saying it's layered in misconceptions. It's a misconception. These are hard things to see until we start looking deep into our minds, you know. So attachment over-exaggerates the deliciousness of the object and its status in making me happy. So now when attachment is thwarted and it doesn't get what it wants, that's aversion. Oh no, that's horrible. Attachment goes, oh yes, that's nice, and you go towards it. Aversion is, oh no, that's awful. And now there's a whole spectrum there as well. There's violent anger. That's pretty, we all recognize that one. Look at the world. Absolute panic attack. And this is the interesting point. Look at that. We see this kid screaming. You know, your child screaming. We just go, oh, look, he's angry. But have a look at him, please, without knowing what words he's saying. He's having a serious, serious panic attack. He's having a serious, serious mental breakdown. But we just go, oh, he's angry. But have a look. Look at the behavior. Look at the body. What's it doing? The mouth, the spit coming out, the tears out of the eyes, the irrational, insane words coming out of the mouth. The person completely gone berserk. We go, oh, that's anger. Look at it. Now, that's not fear. I don't know what is. Complete panic attack. That's anger, a volatile expression of thwarted attachment, of aversion. And then there's the milder ones, which these are the ones that are happening 1,000 times a day that we never pay attention to. Irritation, annoyed, upset, worried. Irritation, annoyed, and upset. Those 3 words. When the baby things happen that I don't want, like the wrong noise, the red light, Jason putting the toilet seat up, not down. The baby things, because attachment's there running the show every second, and its main voice is, I want what I want every second. It sounds very cruel and brutal and self-centered to say it, but by definition, that is what it is. So we suffer when it doesn't get what it wants, and that's the panic. So panic is actually low level in attachment. We don't notice it. It's there all the time. But it's really evident when attachment doesn't get what it wants, when you have the anger, the irritation, annoyed, frustrated, or the internalized version of all of that aversion, despair and depression, you know. So we're running between these 2 all our lives, Buddha says. Convinced that when we get what we want, we'll get happy and stop the pain. And convinced that when we don't, that's called suffering, and we spend the rest of our time trying to avert it and get away from it. So this is like the tightrope we're walking all our lives. And Buddha says, it's just, we've got to go deeper. We're not getting to the root of the problem. And that's what his analysis is about attachment. That's what his whole analysis in the Four Noble Truths is all about, you know. So anxiety, worry, fear are the character of those states of mind. They're normal. So how do you give up fear? By giving up delusions. So just try and imagine you've practiced to some degree. And even if we have done a little bit of practice over the years, surely, and I can even say for myself, and I'm not a high practitioner, I have not realized images, I am not clairvoyant. I can tell you though, because I've got to spout these words out of my mouth, it's my job. If I don't have any integrity and attempt to practice it, I'm the most inauthentic fraud you can imagine. You should put me in prison for being so wicked. Attempt to do it, I try very hard, and I can say with certainty for the very berserk person, definitely I am less attached and less angry now. Definitely I can say that. And I can therefore say definitely there's less anxiety, less fear, and less worry. I can say that, I can confess to that with certainty. So all I'm saying is it works, but it's hard work. It's the hardest job we'll ever do. Because we believe in our opinion, we believe whatever arises out there, we believe it, we don't question. And that's the skill that Buddha gives us, the skill to check it, look at it, and then go inside and see this part in here, not just the external. That's his skill. That's Buddha's expertise, And it's it is the hardest job we'll ever do, because we're addicted to the other one, This is how you give up anxiety. So one approach, and let's look at the approaches then, when the awful thing happens, because we think it's natural to go, oh my God, no, this is unbearable. So the woman, so in other words, okay, one more crucial piece, one more crucial delusion, neurotic state of mind, distorted emotion, disturbing emotion, misconception that we throw in there into the mix in our daily lives is grasping at things as permanent. This is a massive one. So, but it's not the same. So this is different. It kind of comes along. There are all these very distinct states of mind, Buddha says, and they all got their own functions. So the more we first know theoretically and then experientially through our practice, we can identify the different voices in here. So attachment is this massive hunger to get what I want. It's desperate. Then this is the point. When I get what I want, when I've got the nice boyfriend, the house, etc. In other words, a normal, happy life. Thank you. And everybody deserves it. Nothing wrong. So naturally, what's going to happen is, because instinctively, when we get what we want, look at it. We say, especially if it's the boyfriend and the house and the family and the life, the one we've been aiming for, or the job or whatever, we'll say, now I've got it. Now I've found happiness. Finally, I found happiness, we'll say. So what's happening right here is automatically coming along is this, because we can't bear the thought of not having that boyfriend, of not having that job, of not having that pleasant feeling. Then we dump another lie on top of it and we say it's permanent. This is why I always quote Nicole Kidman. I've been doing it for years, and I'm not because I'm mean to the girl. I think she's a lovely person, but it was so stark in this interview I read with her when she was with Tom Cruise. And she said at the end of the interview, "We will be together until we are 80, she said. This is such a powerful example of how we think when attachment is getting what it wants. Because experientially, we know things for eons of lives, not to mention this life, we kind of know the things that don't last, and we know they change. But attachment is such a junkie, it can't bear the thought that Tom might not be there tomorrow. We can't bear the thought that health might be gone. That's what anxiety is, when we have a panic about, oh my God, what if this happens? What if the husband leaves me? What if this, there's people, we spend our lives like this. Because it's terrifying to think that you won't have Tom. That's why she said, we will be together until we are 80. Why did she say that? Because attachment's getting what it wants right now. Lovely family, beautiful jobs, in love, husband, children, job, everything's there perfect. Then we assume, because it is there today, of course it will be there tomorrow. And of course it will be like this when we're 80. This is the biggest lie that we put on things. That is called grasping at things as permanent. Not recognizing the truth that things are impermanent. That's why the very first teaching Buddha gives to get us sort of, to be in sync with reality, is to get to see that, guess what, folks? Everything is in the nature of change. And he gets us, of course, to think about impermanence and death very powerfully. Let's discuss that. That's the most in your face level of impermanence, a huge wake up call. But we can, and that's massive, but just day to day. And so in other words, Buddha's saying we suffer because this junky attachment illness is not satisfied. I don't think I've got enough, or am enough, or have enough, or whatever. So we're always hungry for something more. We're convinced it's out there, first of all. Then we manipulate to get it. Then we get it, and now we think we've got it. Now finally I'm happy. And now we think, and now we dump the other lie. Now it'll be forever. So in other words, every one of you people, I mean, no, it's the same for all of us, you know. Whatever it is, if you've got a partner who's not, well, they're all in the house at the moment, don't they? You're stuck with your partner, aren't you? Unless they go downstairs into the garage. I read one mother, she pretended to go to work every day to her children. They stayed upstairs with daddy and she had her office down in the garage. She even pretended to go to work so that she wouldn't be bombarded by the kids all day. It was very skillful. Anyway, we all just assume because we've got it now, it'll be tomorrow. This is the deepest one we all have because we can't bear the thought of not having it. In other words, we're living in la la land. This is Buddha's point. We're living in la la land. We're not in touch with reality. This is why we suffer, he says. This is what, so what do we do with this fear and anxiety? There's a multitude of methods. Don't assume, first of all, it'll just go away by magic. There's no such thing as that. One of the grossest misconceptions we have about so-called meditation is like this magic technique. That sort of you close your eyes and something happens and it'll all go away. It's the most grotesque, insulting absurdity. Nothing to do with that. Everything's long term. We all know that. There's no magic fix. If you're 20 pounds overweight, there's no magic fix. You hear about the gym. Oh, wow, I heard if you go to the gym, you can get fit. Oh, I'm so excited. And you come home from the gym, you look in the mirror and you want to kill yourself because nothing's changed. In fact, you feel worse because you've discovered muscles you never knew you had, isn't it? We know that. So it's long term. You've got to work at it slowly. You've got to have the methods. And this is where we're such junk. And this is the irony. This is the suffering of attachment. It's a junkie. It wants something only now. It can't bear the pain of not having what it wants now. So it's a long-term job. So what are the methods then right now to deal with the fear and anxiety? What are the methods right this second? Well, the woman who was talking about, you know, a fear of her husband dying, which is completely normal. I mean, it's totally normal. And then, you know, it said, I'm trying to want to be in the moment and try to be mindful. I said, forget moment, forget mindfulness. How about just accepting that he might die today? Guess what? He could. He will die today. At some point, he will die. So it was the biggest shock. She stopped in her tracks, but suddenly she got it, you know. I said, you stop saying, because people even say, oh, don't be silly. Of course he's not going to die. Excuse me, that's lying. Of course he's going to die. You just don't know when. So why not get used to the idea that he will die? So instead of panicking about it, then think, what's my action point? Guess what? Make the most of today. He's right there now. Then he might die. Instead of panicking, maybe he dies, maybe he dies. Meanwhile, you're not even connecting with him. Then he will die. He's impermanent. Join the universe. So what do? And this is the point. What's the action point? Not fear, but experience. Give up, you know, be a valid person. Be kind, be loving. Treasure what you've got. Everybody who's had near-death experiences, nearly car accidents, all come out of it like with that experience. That's the realization of impermanence. You've got it now, make the most of it. Then suddenly the fear's dissipated. And I'm really serious. To say, oh, he won't die is like a joke. Try and struggle to watch your breath to be mindful is ridiculous. Excuse me. Just accept that he's going to die. It's truth. I mean, it's so simple, but we're terrified to do that. We are terrified. This is a part of the problem, but it's almost like it's like an extra terrifying method to get rid of terror, you know. But it's because the interesting point when we understand the analysis of aversion, let's say, which is causing the fear to arise. Oh my God, look at this thing happening. I can't bear it. Aversion, attachment, only wants the nice thing, is kind of constantly manipulating. It can only bear the pleasant sound, the pleasant taste, the pleasant smell, everything lovely. It's a junkie for everything lovely. And then, because we think that's going to be what happiness. So that when aversion arises, it's when the horrible thing comes. So that's what, and more, of course, the more horrible the thing that is, like COVID-19, like your husband leaving you, like the house burning down, like getting cancer, they're the really shocking things. So then, of course, the fear will be strong, the aversion will be horrific. But listen to this, aversion is the state of the mind that is functioning, that triggers the panic, because aversion can't stand to even think about this thing. That's why people have panic attacks. It's called aversion. You can't bear the thought even that your husband might be dead. You can't bear the thought of not having enough money in the bank. That's aversion, it seems to me, and that's thwarted attachment. That's where the fear comes from. So if you greet the problem Doesn't mean be nihilistic. Well, my house could burn down. Well, Tom could leave me today. Why bother? That's what we tend to think. We feel we have to think we will be together for eternity. No, you will. He will die. He will leave you. You will die. You might leave. You don't get nihilistic and go, well, what the hell? What's the point of doing anything if he's going to leave me? No, you make the most of it. You're here today. How blissful. This is realizing impermanence. So how you would not have fear of him dying when you can recognize that. So the practice here is, this is reality. This is how things are. What is saying we are living in, we have panic and fear because we've got delusions which are preventing us from being in sync with reality. That's why we have fear. So this sounds brutal. Well, see reality, wake up and see reality, stop living in a fantasy land. It sounds brutal. No, you're going to be blissful when you stop living in a fantasy land. Then you'll be able to bear the suffering when it comes because you prepared your mind by putting up with the seat down instead of up, or up instead of down. You've confronted this attachment and aversion 1,000 times a day. You've been training your mind in the baby events. So when the big one happens, you're ready with its reality. It's the resistance of reality, which is aversion, which is anger. That is the intensity of the pain. That's the overt experience of the pain. And that's what, and fear is its flavor. So why don't you ask me some questions now? That's an analysis, okay? Buddha's analysis. So ask some questions. If you'd like to, please, I'll be very happy to hear some questions. Anybody? Robin, Denise. There's Denise. Who's Denise?
So I understand what you're saying about where anxiety is coming from.
Yes.
Can it, aren't there conditions too that can make it more prominent? Like physical conditions that make...
Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're talking about. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. The conditions.
But I mean, even within your own body, besides events.
What do you mean, darling? What's the point?
I mean, like health stuff.
Of course, sweetheart. Yeah, I mean, anything that's external, absolutely. Having pain in the body is like having a husband who leaves you. It causes incredible, it's a different kind of suffering, but it's a similar thing because the body technically is external. Absolutely, darling. And this is the point. We are so dependent on so many things. So if we're looking, what we're doing here is looking, as we know, at the Buddha's analysis of the main thing, the root of it, which is the mind. And then, of course, external conditions might make that almost impossible. If you've got raging headaches every day, it's almost impossible to change our mind. We know that, and that can be it's a really serious condition, which shows just how difficult it is. I mean, it's bad enough trying to keep the mind happy when there's just a noise outside. When your body's in pain, it just shows how difficult it is, but it's still the same analysis. And I know now I've heard that many people these days who are dealing, psychologists and doctors working with methods, mental methods of how to work with physical pain. So we're understanding this point. So absolutely, of course you're right. Of course you are. None of this is easy, but it's important to start. You understand what I'm saying? We have to at least understand what we can do. So we try every possible condition. I mean, if you go crazy every time you hear the noise next door because you get these migraines, you gotta do something. You don't just sit there trying to change your mind. You're going crazy. We've got to know what we can handle. We've got to know what we can handle. Now, this is the thing. If some of my friends in prison on death row don't have the luxury to stop the crazy guy next door shouting all day. So sometimes then when you're here, and that's why I have such respect for my friends in prison, they've been forced to come to change their minds because they don't have the luxury to change the external. So it's fine. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try to change the external. Doesn't mean we shouldn't try to find a pill or close the window or put earphones in. Do what we can. But it's important to have the analysis. It's still the mind we have to work on. That's the long term. Do you understand my point? Mm-hmm. Absolutely, darling. All these things play a big role. Absolutely. Absolutely. Does that make sense, Denise?
You too.
Good, darling. Thanks. Who else?
I got a question, Venerable.
Yes, talk to me. Where I got to find you. Oh, there I go. Good. Talk to me.
Sandy.
Where are you? Where are you sitting right now? Where are you?
We're in my Gampa,
Where? I forget.
Huntington Beach.
Oh, that's right here. Of course you are. Yeah, go on. Talk to me.
My question is this: when you mentioned about prison, for me, in order for me to live with everything that you talked about, I just looked at it. Hey, it's in front of me. This is my reality, so I just have to accept it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not pretty.
That's right.
I accepted it, and it actually helped me out because I just saw life for what it is.
There you go. There you go.
Everything right in front of me.
There you go. And then you can see it. I mean, this is the point. I mean, you can see how difficult it is. I mean, this is why you can see how difficult it is. But when we can see even a bit, just recognizing impermanence, recognizing this is reality. Because I mean, as we know, there's a saying: if you can change something, please change it. But what if you can't? So to have the courage, and I think the emotional intelligence to know that, to do that, that's profound. And that's why I have such respect for my friends in prison. Because when you don't have the luxury of changing the external, you either go mad or you change your mind. This is really true. And this is an example. And that shows us we can all do it if we're brave enough. But often I think because we think we've got the option to change the external, then we just don't, it doesn't occur to us, I should change my mind. Because we're thinking, well, the person next door shouldn't be shouting. Do you understand? But if you know you're not going to be able to stop them shouting, then you're forced to go to the mind. And that's the really profound practice. And that's exactly the point. Then the sanity can come. That's the point. So well done.
In prison, we just learn how to block them out. Somebody's keep yelling next door.
Are you in Stew or something, or what? Where were you in prison? Where were you in prison?
Lancaster prison in California.
Which one?
Lancaster in.
Lancaster. Okay. How long were you there?
Well, I started in Folsom, so altogether 25 years.
Well done, and now you're out. When did you get out?
June 21st of last year.
Well done. I can't believe. What's your name?
Irv.
Have we met before?
Nope.
Okay.
First time.
Well,
I'm happy to meet you.
where did you meet him? Where did you meet him?
I used to go up to Lancaster to.
Okay. Amazing. Amazing. I'm so happy to see you. You look like a baby guy.
Prison projects because of you.
Oh, is it really?
I went because of you.
Oh, I'm so happy. Good. Well, you look like a happy guy. You look like you. See, the thing is, with me, you look like you're a person who's more patient than angry. You're not like those angry dudes, are you? And that's your saving grace. You look like you've got patience.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, we look at the world, we don't think anger is a big deal. We can see that suffering is coming from anger. You look in your environment there, the guys who are really angry, they're the ones who go completely crazy and harm each other as well. But, you seem to have a state which is such fortunate that you've got a mind that was able, you didn't have too much anger. You didn't go crazy whenever you couldn't get what you want. Is that right?
Well, I did, but I'm just,
Okay.
all I can say is I'm just fortunate enough where before I reacted to things, I kind of took a step back and
There you go. That's the miracle. That's the miracle. Well, I'm great admiration for you. Well, I hope to meet you sometime.
Yes.
Good, son. You're looking very well, sweetheart. You look well. Happy to see you. Herv, your name is.
Irv.
Irv.
H-E-R-V-E.
It's IRV.
Irving. Oh, Herv.
It's short for Irving.
Irving. Oh, okay, good. So happy to meet you. Thank you for your example. I mean, if you can do it when you can't change a damn thing in those garbage dumps, then you're pretty good. You're an example for us. Well done. Happy to meet you.
So everybody's getting a taste of it right now with all this quarantine.
Exactly.
This is no lockdown. This is.
But you got pretty paintings here. You didn't have paintings in your Folsom, I bet you. You have got a pleasant roommate. You got a nice celly there, have you?
Oh yeah, the best one.
What? What'd you say?
I always said I wanted us to be silly. So I don't want that.
Well done. I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad for you. Well done, sweetheart.
Thank you.
See you later. Thank you, darling. So kind. Anybody else? You see, he can do it. We can do it. Okay. That's what I really like to tell. I'm trying to make him a saint, or people I know in prison who are saints. But that's really the key. It's so fascinating to me. I mean, we might sometimes when we might as well be in prison because we really believe, it shouldn't be like this, and that thing shouldn't be this way, and how dare COVID-19 come, and how dare Mr. Trump this, and how dare that thing happen, and we fill them all this, and that's true. It's all true, maybe, but what good is it? It doesn't help. So to really know that we can change our mind is a super brave mind, a super brave kind of, it's like emotional intelligence, and that's the secret to success. This is really the one. Of course, it's the hardest job we'll ever do. I mean, be reasonable. I mean, if he could have, got out of his crazy roommate's place, he could have, then fine, do it. But what if you can't? And this is the point, This is the point. What if we can't? This is the point. It's brutal kind of practice because it is facing, it is seeing, this is, as he said, it's seeing how things are. This is how it is, not how you'd like it to be. And this is a tough one. It sounds so simple, but it's infuriating, you know. This is the secret to success, I tell you.
Hi.
Any other
Can
questions?
you?
Yes, Gita, sweetheart, you talk to me.
Hi.
Good to see you, Dad, all these years.
Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
I know.
Wonderful. We've had some good times
We
together.
did, darling. Talk to
Where
me.
are you? Where are you now?
I'm in Portland, in Oregon.
Oh, okay.
I've been in Europe, and then when all this thing happened, I just continued on my itinerary anyway, and my first stop was Portland, and so now I'm stuck here, you know, not going any further. So
I know. No. Well,
I'm supposed to be in Santa Cruz right now, as you know.
I know. I know.
Darling.
But this is the best next thing.
It is, darling. Absolutely it is. So did you have
See
any
you.
questions? Did you have any questions for
Well,
us?
not so much. I appreciate what you're saying because I have worked on that, you know, for a long time.
Yes.
My first reaction when they said I couldn't leave my house, which I have not been to a store or anything for 3 months,
Right, exactly.
because I don't like shopping anyway.
Right, exactly. So
But the first thing that happened was I had a little bit of an angst, you know, of a,
yes. So you decided to change your mind, did you?
well, yeah, because it brought me back to my childhood.
There you go.
Right. And so I said, oh, wait a minute. This is now. This is not then. But it was a thing that it came up for a little bit. And then, you know, I looked, naturally, I'm in the now. I live in reality from 1 minute to the next.
There you go.
What it is what it is.
Good.
And I accept and I have gratitude.
Perfect, darling. That's it.
It was
Perfect.
interesting
There you
that
go. Well done, Gita. Thank you, darling.
What happened? My life is still learning.
That's it. That's it. Keep going.
I love this Zoom.
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it? Good, darling. Thank you so much. Any other questions? Is that Mary Beth? Yes,
Question.
darling. Talk to me, Mary Beth.
My question is, I have a lot of really anxious people in my life. Some of them were like that before, like they just came anxious.
Yes.
And I noticed two things. Well, there's kind of two types of them, but the ones that they live in this sort of imaginative, futuristic state. Like they're sitting home safely in their homes, but in their minds, they're in this apocalyptic state. And this is what makes them go crazy.
What you're saying is they're imagining all these terrible things that will happen.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the functions of attachment and aversion. We get completely caught up in all the stuff from the past, if only it wasn't this or was that, and then we make up all these stories about the future. Yeah. That's a function of anger. That's a function of aversion. It becomes paranoid. And it makes up completely, just can't stop writing novels. That's exactly right.
And then I have another set who are
just worried about
healthcare workers
yes.
in Greater New York. And they are legitimately anxious because they're going into work every day and having horrible experiences.
Exactly.
So one of the problems of, you know, I'm having is like, what are the skillful things that I can say to those non-Buddhists?
Yeah, you just love them.
Down.
You just give them love. There's no point in giving lectures. And it's sort of, you know, it's like compassion is the wish to help somebody, but it's the wisdom that knows how. And that means you have to know their mind to some degree. So if it's a person who's overwhelmed and have all these crazy stories, you can't say don't have those stories. You can't say, you don't give them lectures. You'd have to see their mind and just give them love and let them rave on. And you can't stop them. So, and you know, and your other friends who are living in this fear daily of getting sick, you just love them as well and know how kind they are, how compassionate, how brave you are. And you make them feel good about themselves, which can calm a little bit the anxiety, you know, because then you understand there's nothing much you can do. You just have to love people, be kind to them. If they ask you advice, more practical, then okay. So compassion is just the wish to help them, but often there's nothing much we can do in terms of wise advice. Love them, connect with them, don't criticize them, just listen. Or see you later, darling, I've got to go now, too busy, and just out there, you know. There's nothing much we can do sometimes, just be there and empathize. I really mean that, you know, sometimes it's the best thing. You understand? But with your friends in the hospital, the workers, praise them, love them, thank them, and hopefully that can give their heart more courage to be more stable and to take care of themselves, be reasonable. You understand? Because in the end, this is the point, we hear these ridiculous stories. A person can be the most perfect, healthy person on the planet, eating the most perfect food ever, and they die of a car accident, you know? I mean, things happen. And this is what if we did realize impermanence, no matter how much we worry, it still doesn't stop you from dying. No matter how healthy you are, you're still going to die. It doesn't mean to be nihilistic, but, you know, and we know very well, many healthcare workers taking incredible risks will not get COVID-19. People who've taken no risks will get COVID-19. So it seems so arbitrary and random, doesn't it? So the key thing...
I've never heard them express fear of getting sick themselves. Their fear is around they're going into work and they're having horrible experiences watching other people.
What are they? I don't understand the fear then. What fear are you talking about?
You know, going into work and knowing like today I could be the last person that 5 people see. Today I'm going to be the one holding up the phone while that person.
Oh, okay, well that's called compassion. That's not fear. I'd call that compassion. Oh,
it is compassion, but before they put on their little scrubs and go into work, you know, they're really anxious about this, like trembling, anticipating that they're going to have these experiences.
I know that, but I think you've got to look at the difference between compassion, which is empathy with others, and because anxiety in its nature is self-centered. Compassion in its nature is not. So I'm not sure that just saying it's anxiety if they're anticipating, because they know, because it's a very intense experience to have that. So I think it's just maybe it's just their compassion. I'm not sure. And it's okay. Doesn't matter. It's okay. Talk about it. Nothing wrong.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you so much. Who else has a question?
May I ask?
Who else has a question?
Hi, it's Rosetta.
Yeah, Rosetta. She's also in Melbourne. Hello.
Yes.
Can't see you, but I can hear you.
No, you can't see me because I'm in my dressing gown. I can't relate. Robina,
yes.
What you said, something really struck about accepting, stop resisting. That really made sense. But when anxiety takes hold, and it's really, you know, like when listening to you now, it all makes sense. But when anxiety is really at its highest,
that's right, exactly.
That's when it's words and they don't make sense. Do you know? It's like it's like in that state, you can repeat the words.
Yeah, that's right.
But they don't make the same sense. It's like you've almost got to come down from that level.
That's right, because you see, this is the point where, from the long-term, Rosetta, from long-term practice point of view, that's a bit like, you know, that's the analogy I like to use. Right now, okay, first of all, right now in our world, in our culture, in our approach to psychology, in our approach to our emotions, you know, our emotional suffering, what we mean by emotional, which is what you're talking about there, when it's so present, it's when the body is involved.
Yes.
Or, you know, when the body's shaking, when it's such a physical experience. I mean, when very powerful emotions are there, it's like it's physical. When there's such anger or jealousy, it's physical. It really feels physical. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, I do.
But what this is when I use the analogy, like if you've never heard of car mechanics, and you've got this brand new car and you've driven it your life and you've driven it to the ground. What I mean by that is, you suddenly at 120 k's an hour on the freeway, and you suddenly notice, which is the anxiety attack, oh my God, my wheels are falling off. What will I do about it? Well, there isn't much good at that point. So the real learning from it is, if you'd learned that there were mechanics in the first place, and as soon as you felt the wobble, this is my whole point. In daily life, we have 1,000 panic attacks, but they're baby panic attacks. The minor aversion, the minor annoyance when the thing doesn't go right. But because it doesn't feel physical yet, we don't think it matters. It's only when we notice it when you're shaking. It's too late, Rosetta. So that's where the long-term big picture is. You've got to start learning there are methods to see your mind every day, so that to the point where when you deal with the baby aversion and the baby annoyance and the baby resistance and the things we don't even pay attention to now because the body doesn't feel it, then when the serious ones comes, it will not be a panic attack, because you would have been using mechanics all your life and using preventative and curative, and the wheels would never fall off. Are we communicating?
Okay, thank you.
You with me?
I am, yes.
And that's our problem. We only ever, when I'm about ready to kill my husband, what do I do? Because we don't even notice it until then, because we haven't noticed the baby ones. That's the thing. If you go to your therapist because you get annoyed because you broke a cup while you're washing the dishes, she'll laugh at you until stop wasting my time and go home. She'll only want to see you when you want to kill your husband. And that's our style in our culture. We wait till it's violent, till it's too late, until the wheels are falling off because we don't have methods to deal with the baby stuff because we don't think it matters. But it does.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Are we all communicating? This is the long-term learning from all this. In other words, what I'm saying is this. If we practice every day, when things are going nice, when everything is lovely, and you catch it, and you catch the baby moments when your attachment doesn't get what it wants, the baby panic attacks that we don't even call panic attacks, but it's the annoyance, the irritation, the frustration, the aversion, the resistance. I've never yet, I always joke about breaking a cup while you're washing the dishes, like such a pathetic example. But you listen to my point. I've never met a person yet who doesn't get angry when they break a cup. Why? Because you're not supposed to break a cup. Because attachment, you only want an unbroken cup. We only want everything to be perfect. So the moment attachment doesn't get what it wants, every second, mini attack happens. A slight aversion, a slight annoyance, a slight upset, a slight irritation. And that's the wheels wobbling. If we know that with our car or our mouth, with our teeth and our bodies, we rush off to the doctor. We rush off to the dentist. We rush off to the plumber. But when it comes to our bloody minds, we wait till we're having a mental breakdown. It's too late. So you can say with certainty, which is what Buddha's saying, this is not rocket science. If we catch each moment, look at our mind, adjust ourselves, accept the cup, break another cup, Robina. It's only a cup. It doesn't matter, darling. You know, catch the moments of anger, the moments of annoyance, and work with it. Then you will never have mental breakdowns. You will never have a panic attack. It is not possible. You'll be ready and equipped to deal with the dramas. This is the point. No magic. It's hard to work with all.
Venerable Robina.
Yeah, who's that? Amy, talk to me.
I have a question about what you were saying about accept that things will change and make the most of it now. You know, the lady who was fearful about her husband dying. My question is, well, so I feel like sometimes I catch myself and I try to do that. I try to sort of accept, yes, things will change and make the most of it now. But then the making the most of it starts up a whole nother chain of anxiety. How do I make the most of it? Okay, I've got to have a nice time. Got to have a nice time.
Okay, no, I understand.
And,
no. We're sort of trying to. Yeah, no, go on.
Yeah, well, and from what you were just saying then about catching the small moments, yes. I feel like looking back, I can see that I have been trying to do that, but what I may have been doing instead is actually just pushing it aside.
Also, no, it's true.
So I'm just wondering, like, how do you really actually accept it and genuinely make the most of it without starting up another
practice?
Yeah.
So, okay, there's you worried that Jason's going to leave you. You know, so, I mean, there's so many partners, they're having a terror. And that means if you're all the time anticipating he might leave me, which is coming from attachment, desperate to get him to be there, to make you feel like you're a better person, and then the jealousy that might arise. But these we need analysis of them. So all the time it's in your mind. And that means every second you're checking his behavior just in case it looks like he mightn't be looking at you properly, mightn't be thinking of you properly. And you're interpreting all the time. This is the suffering of anticipating something that you're worried about might happen. So of course it's not that easy to think he could leave you. It's so shocking to think, oh, well, he could leave me. I mean, we don't even know what to do with it when we say that. We're in the midst of all these dramas and these novels in their head. It's not that easy to think, well, he could leave me. But maybe you have to think he could leave me, but he could, you know, things you just have to change the script a little bit, try to do their best. Don't wait for a magic result. It's not going to happen. Because even that, the way you're describing, is like a bit like sort of already the wheels are falling off. It's tense. And it's just all we can do is, it's like every day, it's practice to remind. And then eventually what you're going to notice is, like anything, as you keep playing the piano, the first day you play it, it's like a joke. 99% it's still that you can't play the piano. And the next day it's 96, 90, 99 less percent. It takes probably how many, and one day after weeks, you might be able to even get your first grade music done. you might just get the piece played nicely. You got a miracle. Wow, I did it. So you just keep picking yourself up and keep doing it. And what's doing it mean is getting the right thoughts, because all this is conceptual. This is cognitive therapy. This is cognitive therapy at a very subtle level. And don't expect magic overnight. Don't expect to suddenly make it all better. Oh, now you could leave me, now what? Make the most of it. Meaning just shut up. Sometimes you just have to just shut up and get on with it. And there you are. He's there for dinner. Enjoy him. He's having dinner right now. Okay. Hi, darling. How are you? Hasn't left me yet. Hi, sweetie. I mean, it's like, what can I say? You know, there's a million methods. It's not magic is the point. It's slow, gradual, incremental cognitive therapy. I promise you. And every case, like it's good to have a morning practice and an evening practice. They kind of work at a deep. That's why we do purification. All these other practices we do. They don't have an overt. They don't seem to be having an overt effect on our mind, but they work at a very deep level and loosen the grip of all this rubbish. You know. There's no quick fix.
I have a question.
Who's that?
Yes,
Hello. Who is it? I can't see you. Peggy, good darling, talk to me.
Okay, so I don't exactly know what to do. If I break the cup, I pick it up and move on. Or what thought should I be encouraging?
I understand. Well, okay, we'll try and imagine. Let's just say you did break the cup. I mean, just think of a simple example. It depends on the cup. If it's a broken old chip cup anyway, but even still we might have a bit of guilt. But just try, so you've got to look at what the thought would be that would arise when you broke the cup, and then you just apply the antidote. So what would a thought be that you kind of curse yourself, oh, this ridiculous person, stupid, you shouldn't break cups. I don't know, what would arise in your mind? Be annoyed with yourself, wouldn't you? A little bit?
Yeah, I would be a little disappointed about it.
Okay, there you go. Good, good, perfect point.
But I want to tell you one of the things I do. I live in the woods. Yeah. I like quiet. Good. And sometimes we have motorcycles that go by and my body reacts. And so what I'm starting to do with that, because it's a bigger thing than breaking a cup, is, well, what I used to do was say, okay, there go the spare parts, because the doctors say they get more spare parts for motorcycle riders than anybody else. But what I'm now trying to do is every time I hear the noise, actually using it as a trigger to deeply breathe.
Okay, good. That's
and that is helping.
Precisely.
But if I just break a cup, it's like, so what?
I know, well, that's okay. So it all depends on you as an example, that's all. If the cup isn't the drama, then it's the noise. So any technique that you can use to help you recognize that the mind is resisting and the body, because it's attracted, the body because it's connected to the mind, it can also affect the body, then you use any method you can to use it to change. You're doing exactly the perfect thing. We can make up our own methods, you know, but the key is to really recognize how you resist it.
Okay, so what I'm just, it's not resisting.
It's how we interpret it. I think this is an interesting point. I remember this is something very interesting. I remember my brother in Australia lives in the country. He likes the quiet too, and he's got this house, lovely house, and he's got and there was this. And suddenly, depending on the wind, on one day if the wind is going a certain way, he can hear this the freeway in the distance, and it's a vague roar. Do you understand? Do you understand? Yes. So he can't handle it. But when I first heard it, I thought it was the ocean. So even one other thought. So in other words, it depends about it. So what I'm saying is it depends on how you interpret it. I remember one fellow, also I heard a story, one Lama told the story about one of his students had hated the sound of the freeway, and then he did a retreat. And he came, I forget now, but during the retreat, he heard this sound and he really was convinced it was the ocean and he would really enjoy this sound. And after days or weeks, he realized it was the freeway. So it really, the point here is, this is the entire point of everything. It's the way you interpret. So what anger is an over-exaggeration of the ugliness of the motorcycle sound. And attachment is an over-exaggerated interpretation of the lovely sea. And so when you hear both those sounds, and they can be either one, it really shows our mind, you know. So the key is what you're doing, which is perfect. You're trying to reinterpret. What I'm looking at is what thought am I having, and does that feel good or not? And I'll change. Can I change the thought? And that's the point. That's the point, honey. That's the whole point. Exactly. Okay. Well done. Congratulations. So who else?
I have a question.
Where are you? Who's talking?
Juliana.
Juliana, hi, sweetheart.
Hi. you just said something about anger being an overinterpretation, and I was wondering if you can talk a little bit more, because a few minutes ago you mentioned anger is also being as paranoia being a form of anger too.
Yes.
And I'm very interested in that because I'm studying to be a counselor.
Okay.
I work with some people who they aren't even schizophrenic, but they have paranoia about conspiracies and what all these things they imagine people are doing.
It's a really interesting point, isn't it? So let's just analyze. Okay, let's just look at the key thing that Buddhist psychology is saying. That beneath all these physical emotions, these strong, what we call emotions, if we start to look into the actual mind, we're going to see these elaborate. Anger is rooted in being an elaborate conceptual story, which over exaggerates the ugliness of something. So that if you think about it, a person who's always angry, they're always finding everything they see, everything they hear, everything they think about, they're always finding fault in it, aren't they? They're finding fault in it. Wouldn't you agree? So if that goes uncontrolled, there's no thermostat, then it's going to start making up. I mean, all the conspiracy theorists around the world, you look at them, they're not peaceful people. They're not peaceful people. Have a look. It's a mind that's agitated. Imagine this. And then you start conceptualizing, well, this happens, therefore that's going to happen there, and that'll be this, and that'll be that. And it becomes a really narrow, very kind of superstitious kind of mind. You understand? That's very much related to anger. Very much related to anger, or the habit of it, the habit of it. It builds up all these stories and you keep making things more distorted and more crazy. It's very much, peaceful people, more peaceful people, we've got other types of suffering, but more peaceful people. What happened to, where are you? Put your light back on again. Unmute yourself. There you go. I want to see you.
I'm unmuted.
There you go. So, peaceful people are people who are peaceful, who've got patience. They've got other problems, but when a bad thing happens, they kind of go, oh, it's okay. They don't over-interpret, over-exaggerate and hold on to it. So you can really see that. So I think, of course, there's so many, especially in this country, there's so many conspiracy theorists. It's unbelievable, isn't it? And then you start talking to each other, and then you read the iPad, you read the Facebook, and you build onto that, and you can't let go of it like a vampire. And you keep building and building. It's like demented. We're making these constructs of nonsense, isn't it? But the key point that Buddhist psychology is saying, just 1 second, is all these unhappy emotions are rooted in being distorted conceptual stories. So attachment over exaggerates the delicious things of something. And you make up all this fantasy about the divine, going to be there for eternity. Everything is perfect. We're going to have 15 babies and 14 houses. We're going to get rich. All the over exaggerating of all the lovely things, which you spend our lives thinking about. That's over exaggerating called attachment. And then when the bubble bursts, because it's a fantasy, you go crazy. You understand?
I don't know why I had not made the connection between cognitive therapy and Buddhist psychology before, but it's totally opening up so much for me now. And talking about paranoia, there's that whole thing in cognitive therapy about addressing catastrophic thinking, which I think is kind of what's going on.
There you go. Exactly. Absolutely, darling. Exactly.
The interesting thing is that I'm seeing a lot of this from some of the most privileged people, whereas people who are used to struggle are like, like, they're a little bit more resilient. Maybe it's because they've managed to weather most of the baby stuff, like being poor and, not having access to medical care, whereas more privileged people are literally flipping out. All over Facebook. They cannot deal with the pandemic. And I had COVID-19 back in February.
Really?
I lost my job, and I've been through all this stuff, and I'm like, well, this is just another crappy thing that's happened. I'll get through it like I always have. But people who haven't even gotten sick are flipping out.
I understand. That's very interesting, isn't it? I know. And that's because their attachment's been getting what it wanted all the time. So it's panic attack when things go wrong.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
There's something useful to not getting everything you want because you get used to it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. Who else is there? Other questions? 15. We've got 15 more minutes. Anybody else have something to say? This is really helpful.
I have a question.
Oh, okay. There's Robin and there's Jean. So let's Jean first and then you, Robin, after that, Robin.
Okay.
Talk to me, sweetheart. Hello, darling.
Jeannie, talk?
Talk, Jeannie, yeah.
Okay. Hi, Robina.
Hello.
I've been to your workshops before at LMB.
Good.
It's beautiful here in Santa Cruz, and it's so beautiful to see you.
Oh, I'm happy, darling.
Hear from you. Thank you for your gift of sharing with us.
Good.
So, my question is, our propensity for living in fear or reacting in ways such as anger, or paranoia, Is that related to karmic seeds? Something we've inherited karmically from our parents or a former
Well,
life?
you know, there's two ways of looking at, of using the Buddhist approach to look at all the things we're describing. One is the view about karma, which is Buddha's view that every millisecond of what we think and do and say will sow seeds in our mind that will produce our future experiences. It's a really sophisticated process, you know, it's not evident initially, but and conversely, everything now, every moment of our life, everything we experience, whatever's going on in our mind, how we're seen and treated by other people, what the environment is impact, how the environment impacts upon us. Every moment of all of this for each sentient being, the main cause of these is our past programming. So we're creating our future lives now by how we think and do and act, and we are experiencing the fruits of our past programming now. So so there's 4 ways. It's nothing to do with your parents. You can't inherit anything from your parents like that. You can inherit genes from your parents, but you can't inherit anger or love or sickness or physical or experiential. You can't inherit the mind. So there are 4 ways our karma ripens. One is the type of rebirth we've got. So that's the fruit of virtue in our case. So we've got the human body. But in this human life, there are 3 other ways. So that is, the first one is our own states of mind. So hopefully before, how he was talking was, it seemed to me, you know, he said he dealt with his anger in his prison, but it seemed by looking at him, he seemed to have tend to have a patient tendency. Now that's something you're born with. From what? From having practiced patience in the past. We can see some children are born like there's. I mean, my mother did not have to teach me anger. I had it down. I knew it. It was so automatic for me. It was like second nature. We can deduce that I brought it with me from having practiced anger. Why a person good at music? Why a person is good at football? That's for sure. These are tendencies we bring with us, and we're programmed with these from the first second of conception. That's the first way our karma ripens. Now, the next way is all the experiences we have out there, all the relationships we have with people, how they see us and treat us. And this is our main life, let's face it. And then even the physical environment. So let's use one example of, say, the action of non-killing, how that would ripen in this life. 1, you'd get a human birth. That's us. 2, you wouldn't have a tendency to kill. Even if your mother kills fish and someone else kills the ants, you would not have a tendency to kill. It wouldn't even arise in your mind. That's the karmic consequence of having not killed in the past. 3rd, you won't get killed and you won't die young. 4th, you'll be fat and healthy and you won't get COVID-19, and whatever you eat will make you healthy and you live a long age. So that's environmental karma, experiences similar to the cause, and your own mind. We are the main cause of all of our experiences, whatever they might be. So that's that whole analysis. And then there's the way our mind works within all that, which is what we've been discussing up till now.
This is a fascinating time. I find this time really fascinating because we've all gone to prison, and we get to learn things about ourselves, where we have resistance, how we deal with anger and resistance.
That's right.
And it's a real opportunity. And out of all of this, something new and positive might emerge, some new cultural values. I mean, I'm just philosophizing right now, but...
Yeah, I know, but that's fine to do that. But the main lesson here that we're describing is the work we do ourselves. We have to do it. We have to do it, and then we show example, and hopefully others will do it as well.
But we live in a very materialistic culture.
We do.
You know,
attachment.
Bolstered by consumerism.
That's all attachment, caused by attachment.
And now that we're deprived of those pleasures of acquiring and entertainment and eating out in restaurants.
So what's the question?
I don't miss that world, but some people do. But what I experienced was this intense fear, this trauma when this all happened. I was having nightmares. I was thinking about my parents all the time, friends that have died. I've never had such vivid dreams, and I got through that period. I don't know what that was all about. It was drowning. I was drowning in it for a while.
So you changed. That's really good to know. It's excellent, Jeannie. Good.
I made it through that period, and I think what helped me was I teach a course called Art and Design and Color.
Well, that's one of the things. What I'm hearing is you're actually helping other people. That's the main thing. That's a powerful method. So do you have a question from this, Jeannie? You have a question? Let's have a question.
Well, the question is our response to a situation, you know, is that response, does that response have anything to do with karma? And you answered.
Everything we experience has to do with karma.
Yeah,
Your ability to sit at the piano today and play piano is contingent upon your past practice. That's the main cause, isn't it? So
Well,
that's
then
exactly the point. That's the point. That's the answer.
What about the intense nightmares and vivid dreams?
That's all in your mind. It's all in your mind, and you saw them all. They're all there. Everything we've ever thought and said and done since the beginning of this time is stored in your mind. So you saw a bit of it. Well done. The dirt's coming out. It's a good sign.
Okay, so why do we think about our parents so intensely that have
That's
died?
what- I don't know why. I don't know why.
No, neither.
It just all comes up in our mind. When our mind is sensitive, lots of stuff come up, don't they?
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's super sensitized.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you, darling girl. Very kind. Who was the other lady? Before I finish, I've only got about 5 minutes left. I've got to go at 7, 6, 3.
I will be very brief. This is Robin.
Where are you, sweetheart? Where are you?
I'm right here.
Oh, here we go, Robin. Talk to me, darling. Talk to me.
I'm gonna piggyback on what Juliana said.
Good.
My biggest sense of anxiety right now is not even within. I live in an area not too far from where you are, where no one believes that COVID is real.
I understand.
To the point where, because I take precautions, I go into a store and no one is taking precautions, but it goes one more level up.
Yes, exactly. What's the question?
The question is that they're so intent on proving me wrong that they'll get in people's faces.
So what's the question?
The question is, how do you deal with that?
Because that's your anger. That's your anger, not wanting it. So practice patience and let them be the way they are. Accept it and walk on. That's the simple answer. That's the simple answer. As brutal as it is, you got to look at what it is in your mind that is responding to them, and that's called anger. If you agreed with their views, you'd have full of attachment and you'd love them. But because your views are different, they're ridiculous views, and they might be ridiculous. It's not saying they're not wrong. They are probably wrong. But if you have aversion to it, that's your problem.
But then they endanger me by coming
Don't go near them. Don't go near them. It's up to you. We have to be the boss. If you're living around a bunch of maniacs, you've got guns and things, we have no choice but to keep away. We can't blame them. We can't blame them, darling. There's nothing you can do to change them. That's the point. That's why our friend in prison, he couldn't make his other people different. He couldn't make the crazies in prison, so he changed his mind. That's the essence of it. That's a good way to finish. That's a really powerful point. That's the point, Robin. You might be right in everything you're seeing. They might be completely maniacs, but that's still, you can't change it. So what are you going to do? Change your own mind and protect yourself. You see what I'm saying, darling?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, that's really such a simple, powerful point. Thank you so much. So Mayor or Roland, what else have we got to do?
Do we have one more question I could ask on behalf of someone, Venerable Robina?
Absolutely, go for it, darling.
So someone wanted to know if you could give an example of a daily practice we could do to help be aware of our anxiety and deal with it.
We've got to start at the beginning. Start at the beginning by thinking it's possible. I can see my mind. Start at the beginning. And then you can start to want to do 5 minutes of watching your breath. Let's start. That's the first junior school, entry level, grade one practice from the Buddha. But then within that, there's a million other techniques. I mean, if you like to do Tara meditation, you can do Tara. If you want to do a mantra, you can do a mantra. If you want to help others, there's a million different, there's no simple, one single, simple line towards it. There's a million approaches you can take. So it's not that easy to answer in a simple way. But start with the possibility that it's possible and to know that it's your mind and to know we can change it. That's the first step. And then start by watching your breath, but don't expect magical changes. You can equally say, start by being kind. You can say, there's a million answers actually. So I'm not making it that easy for you, for that friend. So there you go. It didn't help at all. It made it worse. But more, there's got a couple more minutes. I've got a few more minutes. Anybody else? People.
May I ask something?
Go, darling. Talk. Go. Where are you? Who's there? I'll find you first, baby. I've got to find you.
Yeah,
There you go. You can talk to me, sweetheart. Yes, talk to me.
Hi, thank you.
Good.
I'm going to shoot you an email later, but my question
I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I can't hear you so well. I can't hear you so well, darling. Talk again.
I'm going to shoot you an email later, but my other thing is, if we're in the moment and our anxiety is caused by someone that's right in front of us, how do we handle that?
So you mean there's a person in your life who you live with who makes you crazy? Is that what you're saying?
I did not live with him.
I can't hear you so well, darling. I really want to hear you. Your sound isn't so good. So can you speak more clearly, sweetheart?
Sorry. I did not live with him. I am trying to break away from him. But because of the COVID-19 also, he is having a lot of anxiety and he has some mental problems.
Okay, so you mean how can I help him? Is that what your question is? How do you help him?
How do I help him? But help myself also, because I don't want to keep getting back trapped back into the loop.
Well, then you've got to cut this person out of your life.
How do I keep the anxiety down when they're right in front of me?
Which anxiety? Whose anxiety? Yours or his?
I guess my anxiety is because of his anxiety. Both.
Okay, but what I'm hearing is you don't need this person in your life. Can you cut this person out of your life? It's a simple question to you. Is that a possibility for you to not have any contact with this person? That's my question to you.
Yes,
and that's my solution. Cut him out of your life.
But then if he comes, do I call the?
What do you mean comes? Comes where?
He comes around my house.
Oh, don't open the door. Is that not possible? I'm not trying to be simplistic about it, but we're talking about it very directly. Seems like a person you don't want a relationship with. You want to cut the relationship. Is that correct? Is that correct or not? Am I misunderstanding? Yes. Does he know you want to cut the relationship?
Yes.
You've told him, I don't want to see you again.
Yes.
You've told him this. But so when was the last time he came around?
Last week.
But since then you've told him again, I don't want to see you.
No, I haven't spoken to him. I haven't seen him. I haven't responded to any of his stuff.
Does he know you do not want the relationship?
Yes.
Well, then you repeat it very kindly and firmly in an email. You wish him very well, but at the moment, I do not want, you have to be clear, sweetheart. You can't just be softly kind. It won't help. You need to be strong and clear.
And then
I don't know if maybe you've been strong enough. Is this person attached to you?
No, but he gets suicidal.
Okay, but you don't want him in your life. Or you do want him in your life. So then you have to tell him. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't sort of feel guilty and think I'm going to try and help him. You know you can't help him. And if you don't want him in your life, you have to just try and tell him that. I don't know what to say, darling. It's not that easy.
I understand.
You see my point? If you're clear and kind and firm in what you say to him.
Okay.
I mean, he doesn't... What, darling?
Because I guess that's where I get confused. Because I feel like if I don't answer any of his response, I don't text him, I don't anything, then it will go away. But then the COVID-19 came around and now he is not taking his medication. His therapist is calling me. I didn't pick up his therapist phone calls or anything like that either. I just try to keep.
That's what you have to, so you need to keep doing that. You have to be clear. You have every one of us has to make our decisions based on our own capability. So we're not all saints yet. We can't help everybody. So you have to make it clear from the words you say that this is finished. This is over. I do not want any further contact. You simply tell the therapist, politely and firmly, I do not want any more contact. Thank you very much. Tell this person the same. And then whenever they knock on the door, you don't answer. And you be strong and clear. All you can do is that, sweetheart, and try and to be clear in yourself. Does that make sense or not?
It makes sense, but
What's the problem with it?
The problem is, I feel like if he does die or if he commits suicide,
blame yourself. That's called guilt, and it is neurotic and meaningless. He's not your child. He's not your husband. He's not your responsibility. All we can do, if we can help the whole world, then please go and do it. We have to know what we are capable of.
Thank you.
And why do you think your presence will help him?
Because that's what he says.
Because you're desperate, you'll turn to anybody.
That's what I needed to hear, I think.
Good, darling. So be brave and try and do it with the purest motivation, out of kindness to him, not out of fear or anger.
Understood. Thank you.
Good, sweetheart. Well, everybody, that's it today. So we finish with our little prayer again. 90 minutes we've been together, listening, thinking, and I've been listening and thinking, believe me. So we think if there's any useful advice here, may we take it to develop our own amazing potential, our own clarity, our own courage, our own fearlessness, so we can be of benefit to others. So powerful. Jamchob semchog rinpoche, makye panam kegyu chig, kye panyam pa me payang, gong ne gong du sho. All right. Thank you, dearest ones, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Venerable Robina.
Thank you, everybody in Australia, everybody everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
Venerable Robina.
Thank you, Robina.
Thank you.
I'm leaving now. Goodbye.